it starts with creation, and so you have a God figure and a Jesus figure that create the world and everything in the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve, and then Satan comes in. And he fall of humanity, and then there's a barrier, and Jesus comes and he breaks the barrier after he performs a few miracles and dies on the cross and he's resurrected. So with that being said, we can go ahead and start it, Kason. So this was the main picture that we saw most of the week, was just this, and this is training. So on the picture on the left, that is me telling Mary, or the Mary figure, that she's going to have a baby. The center picture was the evil magician, and that is our entire drama cast, which was 27 people. And so there's 27 of us doing the drama multiple times a day. So our first day in San Jose, we were in front of the National Theater, and we were there our second day as well. That's the building right there. And the first 2 days, we did the drama a total of 5 times the first 2 days in front of the National Theater and one other park. And the first day we had 5 people pray for salvation, and the second day we had 1. This is the first church we went to on the third day, and it was a lot of fun because there's just so many kids. We did the drama there twice. And we did the medical clinic, and we had a lot of success this day because we had 45 people pray for salvation just on this day. And this was the third day we were there. And after the third day, the entire trip had already had 139 people pray for salvation. We also got mugged a lot by the little kids. This day was just really exhausting. I got chased by kids, I don't know for how long, before and after the dramas that we did. What else? It was a lot of fun. We handed out food that day to the little kids. We fed them lunch. It was a lot of fun. We, in the medical clinic, lasted a while. The little kids loved the monkey bars, but none of them were big enough to do it, so you had to hold them up and take them across the monkey bars, and I'm pulling both of those kids down because they wouldn't get out of the way for others to get on. This was the second church we went to on our 4th day of ministry. It was a lot of fun. We did a medical clinic there as well. We also did the drama twice. We did it out in the street that day, both times in the street we were in the area we were in was really rough, and this little boy cracks me up. He was, or not cracks me up, he was really cool. He was one of the little boys who was praying that day to accept Jesus, and it was just so sincere and awesome. This is the last church we went to, and it was just a really poor church. It was amazing to see how run down it was and how on fire the pastor was at that church. And we went that day to 2 different parks in the ministry and a medical clinic there as well. And how, I don't remember exactly how many we had come to Christ that day, but we were handing out Bibles. They're wearing masks because that day there was a volcano erupting, so they wanted us to wear masks. There was a few of us that decided not to, but it was still really interesting to be there while active volcano was erupting, and you could see ash and smell it in the air occasionally. This was our last day in San Jose. We were back in front of the National Theater, and this little box over here that I have, it's what we were using to broadcast the drama. And our MP3 player broke in the middle of it. In our MP3, we're on to San Blas, but I'll get back to that. Okay, so this is in San Blas in Panama. Those are the huts we stayed in, that's where we were sleeping. This was the big island of the area we were staying at. It's one of the islands we went to for ministry. While we were in Panama, it was really cool because the community we go to there in Panama in San Blas, it's a Kuna Native American tribe is the best way, they're Kuna. but they're basically an own separate entity, much like the tribes here in Oklahoma are, except for they have even more freedom than the tribes in Oklahoma do. And so it was really cool because we literally met people who had never heard the gospel. And we also heard a testimony from one guy who he was planning on going and spreading the word amongst his own people, but he had gotten hurt and wasn't able to. So that was really cool to hear that some people had never heard of it and other people were still there. They had learned and they were wanting to go spread it amongst their own people. We were at schools every day. We went to 4 different islands. And my days ran together there, so I don't know what day was what. I was awake, I hadn't showered because the showers weren't really operable where we were staying, so, but it was exhausting. The picture on the top is the huts that they lived in, and the picture on the right is at the school. Our group was praying with some people, and it was, being in Panama was awesome because we did the Lifehouse skit and the main drama several times a day and just had a lot of success. This was our last day in Panama. I do remember this because it had rained and there was nowhere to do the drama. So instead of doing the drama that day, we did hut-to-hut ministry. And so we went and we got boxes of food and stuff, and we just took boxes of food and everything to the 5 poorest people on that island. And it was really cool because the island we went to was the hut we went to was right next to the school. And they had heard Jesus, but 2 of the other huts of the 5 had never heard Jesus, and they were literally less than 100 yards apart. And that was a picture of the church on the island that had collapsed and wasn't being used anymore. We went to 4 different islands in Panama, and of those 4 islands, there was only 1 church. There used to be 3, but 2 of them had closed. 1 you saw, the other one I don't know what the story was. Next year we're going to Peru. I would really like to take people with me. But I'll get back to the story I was telling about our last day in San Jose. These are the little MP3s that we use. And ours broke. The MP3 jack, we couldn't get it to hook up. We put the auxiliary cable in and it just pushed the headphone jack out. So we were frantic trying to figure out what we were going to do because, I mean, our drama was the only thing that we really had for ministry, but luckily someone on our team had the Lifehouse music on their iPod. So in the process of trying to figure out what we were going to do, I remember that there was another team there in downtown San Jose that had the drama that wasn't using their MP3. So we called up their team leader, or our team leader called up their team leader, and me and the translator booked it about 3 blocks down in the middle of downtown San Jose to try to get the music for this, for the main drama, while the rest of the team learned the Lifehouse skit. They learned the Lifehouse skit in 20 minutes. We never got the music for the main drama, and it was really cool because whenever it was going across, there was a picture of a man with 2 of our people there, and apparently while I had left, they had found out that he was possessed by a demon, and while I was gone, he was exorcised. So it was really cool to I came back, I didn't know that happened, a lot of people didn't, but because they were learning the Lifehouse skit. But we're in the middle of the Lifehouse skit, and it's just really cool to see this guy just praising Jesus. It was amazing. It was really cool. I didn't know what was going on, I just thought it was really cool, and I found out later why, which made it even cooler. But it was just really cool because knowing the people who had prayed over him, had we been doing the other drama, they probably would have been the people who were like, man, you need to watch this instead of not watching the Lifehouse skit like they didn't. And so it was really cool to see that God had messed up our plan to bring this guy to Christ and save him and get the demon out of him. So it was really cool. And that was probably, aside from that 3rd day where we had 45 people come to Christ, that is something, that is another memory from this trip that I will never forget. It was really cool. And so that was our days on ministry. Those were well, that's what we did. We were supposed to have a work service day, but that was supposed to be day one, and I got messed up. So it was a little disappointing not to have a work service day when all we did was the drama for 8 days, and then went to Panama and did it another 4 or 5 times. But no, Susie talks every night while we're there too, and so her thing, starting in Florida while we were at training, and then it continued on through the main trip, was games, so game nights. And I can only remember a little of them because I didn't bring my notes. But it was game nights where, like, for Wheel of Fortune, she used the example of Mephibosheth and how David had spun the Wheel of Fortune, and he had won the Wheel of Fortune without even trying. And then another one I remember was Let's Make a Deal, and how she used Solomon, who started off winning the game and then changed and then veered away from Christ and didn't make some good choices, and then came back and eventually won it. And then what were some Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? She did with, no, I can't remember his name. But she did Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You Are the Weakest Link. I don't remember what are the other games are. But it was really cool just to hear sermons from the Old Testament explained in ways where it was modern game shows. It opened a lot of people's eyes. It was really cool. There was 130 of us that went on this trip. And by the 3rd day, we had 139 people that had prayed for salvation. And by the end of it, we had 327 people pray for salvation. That number doesn't include, though, the countless people on the trip that, from listening to Susie and seeing God work in San Jose, that had given their life back to Christ. And there was one guy on the trip who he signed up 2 weeks before the trip, and he had been suicidal. He was in an abusive homophobic relationship. And when he left the trip, he was saved. He was out of that relationship. It was amazing. He wasn't even on a team, but it was still just amazing to see the transformation that he went through. And then if we go back to when we were in Florida, it was really funny because 2 weeks before the trip, Susie had emailed me and asked me to give a message, about a 10-minute message, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. But God was telling me, you're going to do this. So I went ahead and did it. And so I did it. I presented a message that it was over Philippians 2. And it's Christ's humility. So I was talking about, read the message, or read verses that were like, Jesus came and he was here to serve. He wasn't here for selfish ambition or anything. And he was obedient to death even on the cross. And I'm like, well, I can do that. I can serve. I can do that. But later on in the chapter, it says, we do all of this without argument. Ooh, I struggle with that. I struggled with that wanting to go on the trip because I wanted to go to Haiti with teams from OU. I struggled with that because I didn't want to talk because I'm not comfortable being up here. But I went ahead and I did it anyway, and it was awesome. And after I said that, I kind of challenged the group because last year when I had made some friends, but I had noticed too that a lot of the people that were returning were in these little cliques, and they didn't really want to get out of those cliques. So I'm up on stage and I'm already nervous, but I'm saying that you guys last year, you were in cliques. I felt kind of outcast. For some people, that's really bad. For me, I can deal with it. But it was really cool because I didn't know how that would be received, but after that, the rest of the trip, I had people coming up thanking me for saying that, and on stage saying they felt the same way. And it was really cool because on Tuesday night in country, Susie came up to me and said, I really appreciate that. It takes a lot of guts to say that. And Steve, who's the director, who kind of puts everything together, came up and told me later as well that he really appreciated that. So it was just really cool to say that. And also, while we were in Florida, my last little thing that's kind of funny, doesn't really have a whole lot to do with it, but I got the nickname Abraham Lincoln while I was in Florida, and I don't really know why. I mean, I don't know why they decided to call me Abraham Lincoln or Fourscore, as Steve referred to me, but it was really fun. And one other thing that I just remembered, in Panama, it was showing pictures of us in hammocks and a bonfire and stuff. And that was just our quiet time and our worship time while we were in Panama. And it was really cool to just get to know Steve. Steve, like I said, he's the director. And I got to see and learn how this mission trip developed from basically nothing in '93 to, in 2004, it was 826 people. And then in 2009, they lost one of their biggest backers, but it still hasn't dropped below 100. So it was just really cool to hear his story of the mission trip, how he got there, and it was just encouraging. So that's all I have. It was really awesome. I really want people to go with me to Peru next year. I heard it's a really awesome trip. So if you're interested in going to Peru next year, let me know. I'll hook you up with information. But that's all I got. Thank you guys.